Fago.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Fago Franklin III with New Stitch Media. Today, I am joined by Hollywood producer and writer Joel Soisson. How you doing today?
Doing all right. Yourself?
I'm well. Can't complain. First, before we get into your journey, could you give my viewers some words of encouragement for today?
Words of encouragement. It's going to be over soon. Whatever it is that's bugging you, except one thing, which is probably not going to be over too soon, but we'll soldier forward.
There you go. So first and foremost, what inspired you to actually become a director and get into writing?
Well, I really envisioned myself as a painter initially. I was very into visual arts and went to school for that, and kind of drifted into animation, character animation. You know, the old school where you're drawing on cells and one picture at a time, 24 times a second. And I got into an internship with Disney and went over there to become a character animator, and spent an afternoon down in the dungeons looking at all these guys. It was a sweatshop for dudes all hunched over an animation table in the dark. And I just thought, you know what, I just don't want to do that for the rest of my life. But I love this moving picture thing, and came to realize, a camera is like a guy in a little box doing all these pictures that you don't have to do the work for. You just press a button and voila, movies.
So how did you adjust and adapt with creating new things during this pandemic?
That was an easy one for me because of the three jobs that I've been bouncing around at for the better part of my career, which is producing, directing, and writing. Writing is my favorite because I can sit there and I can stare out the window and dream a little bit. And the lockdown just focused me. It just made me stay inside, stay away from other people, and just, if you can't live a life, then you live inside your head, which is what writers do. And that was really helpful. Then, came the point when, people got to earn a living and make a movie and pay the rent and get out there in the world, which is now where I'm at. And it's a brave new world out there, different rules.
I agree with that. So what advice can you give people about having writer's block? How do they overcome writer's block?
That's, everybody's got their own technique. I read a book years ago that this probably doesn't work for all sorts of people, but it worked for me. And It was a guy likened the writing process. I think he was a physicist or a mathematician named Richard Hofstadter, I think was his name. But anyway, he says, I picture a log, and it's a log lying in the forest. And on top of the log, there's just all the things that are in my story and all the things I've thought of. And it's just not right, but it's all there. I can see it. But what I'd never think to do is turn over the log and see what's underneath it, and just flip everything that I thought was my story, I thought was my characters, I thought was what I wanted to do, and just think about the opposite. Think about what is under the log, insects and teeming things. And, it's a whole nother world. And when I get stuck, I just flip that mental log in my head and go, okay, just forget about everything I've done. Just go somewhere else. Just discover something else and run with it. And it may not even be that story. You may end up writing a completely different story. But for me, that's always been sort of like a little mental technique, I guess you'd call it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know everybody's been talking about mental health, and especially, working in this entertainment field. How do you overcome, certain fears that you have and keeping your mental health in check?
My own vision of everything from my life and mortality to pretty much the world now is don't let it get to you. Don't, even if it's terrible, don't be serious. Just find the lightness, find the humor, find the absurdity. Tragedy is just comedy plus time. No, sorry. I totally blew that. Let me do that again. Comedy is just tragedy plus time. That's what they say. And it really is, for me, do the best you can for your fellow humans, but everything that's horrible has a funny side. And if you can find that, you can live through it.
Mm-hmm. Now you have a new film called My Best Worst Adventure. For fans that have never watched any of your films, what can they expect, and how did you enjoy doing this type of project?
This movie is the other side of the log. I had been doing lots of what I guess you'd call genre films, the horror films, the teen comedies, the action movies. And I wanted just to tell a story about real people in real circumstances that were kind of foreign to me, but discover along with them this sort of fascinating life. And I was making a little horror thriller in Bangkok. And with a fabulous set of producers, Raymond Huber and Cheryawan Tavoranan. And Cheryawan, who's Thai, said that she'd grown up in this little village on the Cambodian border where their primary sport was racing water buffaloes as a kid. And that immediately fascinated me. For one thing, I mean, they treat it like the Kentucky Derby with horses, but this is bareback at the same speed on a stampeding horned beast that if you fall off, you're going to get trampled to death. And they're doing this for sport and recreation. And I just like, okay, you've got me sold. I'm going to tell a story about the avatar me, who's in this case, a 13-year-old girl who comes to see her grandmother in this remote backwater of Thailand and thinks she's on an alien world. And I've got a lot of experience working with aliens and alien planets, but never one that's actually a culture of the world. And to discover that these people are not only not aliens, but they're sophisticated and heartfelt and extremely wise in so many ways was sort of the underlying theme of the movie. But the movie itself is an adventure. It's about, buffalo racing and bullying and, all the things that make, to me, a good story. So that was my way into it, was just doing a guy on a girl on another planet trying to survive.
Now I know that was totally out of your comfort zone.
Very much so.
Yes. So how did you have to adapt and adjust with going out your comfort zone, man? What advice can you give people about, doing something that is totally different from the norm?
Just do it. Get out of your comfort zone, because, you've heard it over and over again, but it couldn't be more true. Fail bigly, just do something that you would never think of doing, and it enriches you. And I was very apprehensive. The one adage in filmmaking is never work with children and animals. So I cast a girl who had never acted a day in her life, surrounded by a bunch of unruly animals and people all speaking another language, and thought, okay, let's give this a go. What's the worst that can happen to me? I go back and make Dracula 4. So it ended up being probably the best experience of my life, and quite possibly the film that I'm most proud of having made.
What does it mean to you that you can give other opportunities to people that, as you just alluded to, that never really had experience in film?
Awesome. I mean, a lot of my career, even in the US, has been taking what I consider to be rawly talented people and helping them get a leg up to have their own voice. And some of them have succeeded beyond my wildest dreams and ambitions, and are people. Couple I did a film a couple years ago as the employee of my old assistant, who had become this fabulous director and had put the money together and had a great film that she'd written. And you know, that can make you humble, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but it can also fill you with a different kind of pride than just making a good movie, that you were a part of this person becoming so enriched in their career. And that's what I felt about working with a lot of the Thai people who taught me a lot of lessons. But this particular girl, she came away from the movie, fortunately, not wanting to kill me, but wanting to be an actress for the rest of her life. And now she may want to kill me, but that's, you know, to be a part of somebody's career trajectory, their whole life ambition, you know, is fun. You know, I have a wife and a dog, but no children. And so the satisfaction I get, that I would have probably had were I a parent, is to see young people find their way and stumble doing it, because you know you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about having patience within the field, within your actors, as well as family values. How do you just sustain that patience? Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, you're dealing with nervous investors, and you're spending money like a drunken sailor on shore leave. And there are all these things that come into opposition, you know, actors, some of which are not the most pleasant and accommodating people. And there's so many films that I've worked on where people let their egos get ahead of what their human instincts should be telling them. And those are horrible. And I look at making a film like I would a family picnic, where everybody's got a job. They all get together to make this beautiful meal. And if you've got this jerk uncle who's just spoiling it for everybody, then you do your best to either set him straight or show him another picnic. And that's, you know, it comes really down to that, especially as a producer, where you are a big den mother. You're supervising a lot of people's needs, and, you know, getting them to realize that your needs alone are not the only thing that run the world. Hard to tell to an actor.
What are some of the key factors with being successful, with being either a producer or a writer?
Things that make for a successful producer or writer?
Yes, sir.
Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
That's a good question. Perseverance beyond belief, because let's face it, it's not gotten any easier. It's easier in some ways to make a film because, you know, you can shoot one on your iPhone now, but it's still the coin of the realm is your creative ability. And if you're a director or a writer, it's your ability to directly create magic that people want to see. If you're a producer, you have to have both a really great business head, because you're dealing with scandalous amounts of money, but you're also have to be a psychiatrist, and you have to be a visionary, and you have to be playing three-dimensional chess. You have to always see what's coming. And, you know, now I'm making a movie, producing a film that I wrote next month in Oklahoma. And for the first time, I have to face the fact that we're in a whole new world brought on by COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we are dealing with a whole different new kind of segregation where
Mm-hmm.
it's the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and those who have to be near the actors and those who don't, because obviously if an actor gets sick, your movie is over.
Mm-hmm.
10 days, it stops. And that's a terrifying prospect to me. How do you decide who's in group A and who's in group B, and how do you keep group A people from seeing group B people over the weekend and having a party or a social event or whatever, a romance.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that I didn't particularly care about at all when I was producing before this. But now that's my success is largely determined by how good a field marshal I am in
Mm-hmm.
keeping the troops at their very specific roles and their very specific bubbles. And frankly, that's probably the most terrifying challenge that I've been up against in my entire film career. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how I'm going to manage it.
Mm. We all been there. This is a unique time for everybody.
Yeah.
And my last question for you, because you had alluded to in this particular film that you did something that is totally different. You talked about bullying and different things of that nature. What does it mean to you to see more people talking about their mental health, Black Lives Matter, social injustice, and different topics that normally we wouldn't talk about?
I'm my voice is my films, and I don't really have any other kind of megaphone, and I probably should use it more just in my daily life, but I don't.
Mm,
And that's in a large part why I gravitated to this film, was because it has so many themes that I think are relevant today. Acceptance, God, we could use a lot more of that,
yes.
on both sides, and
Mm,
um, um, tolerance and the huge um, effect of not just bullying but child abuse. I mean,
mm,
there's some very hard. This is a film for young people and teens and families, I think, but it's got some very hard scenes in it. It's got parental brutality, it's got peer brutality in it, and it's got hopefully enough hope at the end that you can accept that even the people at their worst in this film, they're still humans and they
mm,
still have some good in them. And that's, if there's any message in the film that I want to take away besides being entertaining, it's that we're so quick to typecast and demonize people and have people do it to ourselves. And I think that's part of our mental imbalance, is that we can't wrap our head around how we're supposed to deal with people that are mean to us and
mm,
abusive.
mm,
And I'm not sure I'm right in this, but I think we're coming to learn that it's not totally an either or process, that we all have our demons and we all have to help each other through them,
mm.
instead of drawing walls and boundaries and isolating ourselves. So that was part of if there's a subtext to the
Mm,
film, I think that's really it. It's just kind of at the end of the movie, it's not really a spoiler, but the abusive father who has given nothing to this child comes to share his most triumphant moment.
mm.
Um, and there's a forgiveness aspect of that I really like.
And before I let you go, where can my viewers actually find your work on social media at?
Well, right now, we have just set up a page for this film, My Best Worst Adventure, on Facebook and on Twitter. And we're going to be having more of a social media presence going forward, but that's sort of the launch pad. I personally haven't much of a social media presence of my own, because I'm generationally
Old school.
Old school. Yes. Thank you for helping me through that. And I'm being dragged kicking and screaming into that world. I mean, quick aside, I mean, when I was making films, we just put them in theaters and then they went on DVD or VHS and it was over. Now social media rules everything. And I'm just going, oh man, I am so behind in learning.
And that's, I'm gonna follow up that question. So I know I'm a little bit old school. I'm a millennium, but with all this social media aspect, it's so hard to adjust and adapt when you're just kind of stuck in your old ways. How are you just trying to get yourself out there a little bit more with utilizing social media? And what can you give my viewers, some of the younger ones, what advice can you give them about marketing themselves on social media?
I'm going to flip that question around, unfortunately, because I want to know from them how to do it, because those younger people, and I put you in that group as well, are so much more adept and sophisticated than I will ever be at that. And so it's not a technical thing for them. It's an emotional thing of how much I'm willing to put myself out there. They know the tools. It's just a matter of, I think, how you want to network with people, which you can do in unbelievable ways from everything from Facebook to, Instagram and all these things. And I need to learn that stuff because, I occasionally email people. That's my skill. That's as far as I go. In fact, there's a little piece in the movie which was my way of getting back at all you young people, which is I took this girl from LA to live with her grandmother in the north of Thailand and didn't give her an adapter for her iPad. And so she has to watch throughout the whole movie as her battery slowly goes dead until midway through the film, she's left with a brick that she can do nothing with. And I'm going, yeah, try that, girl. Try living without that thing and we'll see what happens. And of course she gets upset, but that's the whole point of it. So yeah, I'm willfully ignorant on that level. Sorry.
Oh, no worries, no worries. But we're going to definitely get you out of here. But everybody, just click on Fago Franklin III on Google. You can definitely find all my exclusive interviews. You can actually follow me on my social media, which is Instagram Superjournalist87. You can follow me on my Facebook, which is Fago Franklin III. You can even follow me on LinkedIn, which is Fago Franklin III. And again, you can also follow me or either add me up on my YouTube channel, which is New Stitch Media. Thank you, Joel, for definitely coming out here and being very transparent with this interview. I definitely will look forward to watching that film, and I'll hopefully talk with you soon, my friend.
Thank you so much, Fago. This has been fun, and thank you for that last little blast, because I'm taking every one of those little social media handles, and I'm going to get my own.
Yes, sir. There you go. But I'll look forward to speaking with you soon, and we'll talk later, my friend.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Okay.